MashaAllah, you're like miles away. And forgive me for making the request and making you move. But if you can, come a little bit closer. Sisters, God bless you. You're queens. I can't make that request of you, MashaAllah, but please resume as you are. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli. Brothers, I'm not going to bite. I'm not going to yell at you. But if you can come a little bit closer, right? You're too far. MashaAllah. Hope you all got some rest after Laylatul Qadr al-Wusta. Insha'Allah. By the way, sometimes we take certain nights in Shahr Ramadan for granted. Like tonight is still an important night. I know we're taking some breaks in between, but for those of you who know people who are not here tonight, let them know that they're missing out tonight. Okay? Let them know. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran, in one of the most beautiful chapters in the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Hujurat, chapter 49. He tells us in verse 13 of chapter 49 in the Holy Quran, Ya ayyuhan nas. He's speaking to all people. I want you to listen carefully to this verse. And for those of you who would like to follow along in the Holy Quran, feel free to follow along. Bookmark this verse from the Holy Quran. Ya ayyuhan nas. Inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلًا لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. أَتْقَاكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, O people, O humanity, I've created you from male and female, and I made you into nations and tribes so that you can identify with one another. And the best amongst you is the most wary of God, is the most pious. Yesterday I had my dear brothers and sisters raise their hands and participate, telling me where they came from. MashaAllah, Iraq. MashaAllah, Lebanon. MashaAllah, by the way, Afghanistan, you took the cake. You took the pie. Afghanistan won yesterday. MashaAllah, right? So everyone was proud, excited. Where they come from. And you should be. It's good. That's wonderful. And for those of you that I missed, forgive me. It's good to be proud of where you come from. It's good to be proud of your roots. It's good to be proud of your family. However, the pride that you have in your family, in your tribe, in your ashira, in your culture, ethnicity, nationality, all of that, cannot be measured on something that's subjective or arbitrary. Meaning, I'm better than somebody else because I am who I am. Nada, maisir. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the standard. He says, one, I made you into nations and tribes. First, I created you from male and female. So if anybody has any doubts about that, there's a male and there's a female. There's man and woman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us from a man and from a woman. And He made us into nations and tribes so that we can identify with one another. So the diversity that exists with us and the identification of nations and tribes, it's good. It's okay. Now, where does it get wrong? It's when I say, oh, I'm Lebanese, I'm better than this person. I'm American, I'm better than that person. Why? Because of that thing. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the same verse, I created you of male and female, made you into nations and tribes, so that you can identify with one another, and the best amongst you. So don't get ahead of yourself. The best amongst you are who? Atqakum, the most pious. Now I'm going to speak a little bit about this. You and I are in the holy month of Ramadan. Right? We're in the holy month of Ramadan. This is the month, if there's any month in the whole year, which is a month of piety, a month of ibadah, a month of taqwa, a month of worship. All of this, it would be the holy month of Ramadan, correct? In the holy month of Ramadan, when we're doing ihya, you've had 2 nights so far. Laylatul Qadr al-Sughra, the first one, the small one. Laylatul Qadr al-Wusta, the second one, the middle one. And inshallah tomorrow is Laylatul Qadr al-Kubra, inshallah. You've had a little bit of practice. When we're doing our ibadah, when we're doing our worship, are we looking left and right to see how everybody else is doing? What's this person doing? What's this person reciting? Is this person on their phone? Is this person doing the prayers? Is this person paying attention? We're so concerned about other people. We're so busy with what she's doing, what she's wearing, what he's saying, what he's thinking. We're so involved, not in ourselves, but with other people and other things. Why do we busy ourselves so much with other people? Why does it concern you so much? Why does it bother you so much what other people are doing and what other people are thinking about you at the same time? Why? I want you to try something, my dear brothers and sisters. When you come to your worship, even in a congregational sense, coming to the masjid, coming to the center is a great thing. Coming as a group and doing things ritually as a group is an excellent thing. But don't be distracted from the destination that you and I are journeying to, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even when we come to commemorate Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, who by the way, the commemoration of Imam Ali alayhi salam shouldn't stop yesterday night. It doesn't stop there. That's the eve of his martyrdom. Should continue today, tomorrow, and onward. And even if it's not necessarily in aza, in ma'tam, etc., it should be on your minds and in your hearts. Because Imam Ali alayhi salam, he's not just there for us to call out, Ya Ali. Imam Ali alayhi salam is not just there for us to, I'm a proud Shia, I wear dhul fiqar on my chest, I wear it around my neck, and I say, Ya Ali. No, it's not just for that. Those are great. Inshallah, they're encouraging you to have a sense of pride. When you pound your chest, morning Imam Ali alayhi salam, mashallah. But pound your chest to the masjid. Meaning what? Pound your chest into sujood. Meaning what? Pound your chest into subservience, into servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells me to do something, do I actually do it? Meaning what? When it's inconvenient for you and I to do some extra work as husbands, as fathers, as sons, as daughters, as wives, as sisters, as brothers, when it's inconvenient for me to do something that I should be doing, do I step up to the occasion and make it happen or not? Tonight is the law of presence. And I'm starting off with the verse from the Holy Quran, chapter 49, verse 13. And I'm connecting you to do what? To realize our position in our creation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how He's created us, and realize that it doesn't matter how big we are in number or how small we are in number. But instead, what's of the greatest importance is to see through and through that our value comes through our taqwa. And sometimes it's actually easier when we are smaller in number. And the advantage that we have as Shia Muslims is, you know what? Yeah, sometimes we are smaller in number. And in fact, most of the times we are smaller in number. Historically, as Shia Muslims, we've always been a minority. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be ashamed of, but it's something that you have to acknowledge, learn about, and embrace. So when I'm tying this idea of one, let's start off and understand, how did God create all of us? He created us with this diversity. We have to embrace it. We have to be proud of who we are, where we come from. But at the same time, as much as I may be proud of being an Afghan, or of being an Arab, or of being an American, I need to have the openness in my heart and the openness in my mind so that I can integrate and learn and educate myself about my context and the people around me. Familiarity is a nice thing. You like what's familiar. But you and I, we're not striving for comfort and convenience. Instead, we're striving to be the most God conscious within the context that we're in. So what does that mean? What does that mean? If you and I see our role today, our responsibility today, if we really take a second to step back and reflect, you and I, my dear brothers and sisters, we have an amazing opportunity. One of the greatest opportunities that we've had as Shia Muslims in our history over the past 1,000+ years. You have the ability now today to communicate this very verse from the Quran, chapter 49, verse 13. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us, I've created you of nations and tribes so that you can get to identify with one another. When was there a time where people in their faith-based life, as a Shia Muslim, where I see the world through this lens of La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, Aliyun Waliullah, and I want to engage with the rest of the world. Where and when did you ever see a time like this where people come together in one hall from at least 5+ ethnic backgrounds, each having probably 3+ mother tongues, and then a common language that allows them to learn more about each other and then the society around them in one language that they as families and as communities have not been speaking for more than 20+ years. And this exists for us as a minority. Keep that in the back of your head. Shia Muslims have been a minority since the inception of Islam. And Tashayyu', Shi'ism, has existed since the inception of Islam. By the words of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, speaking to Imam Ali alayhi salam, saying, "O Ali, you and your Shia." So this was a common theme with the Prophet ﷺ in speaking to Imam Ali alayhi salam, whether giving him certain praises or giving him certain guarantees with paradise and his reward. So the Imam alayhi salam was told by the Prophet that he had Shia. And some of the early companions that were the Shia of Imam Ali alayhi salam were like who? Like who? Ammar, Miqdad, Abi Dhar, Salman. This group, these four, these were known as the Shia, the followers of Imam Ali alayhi salam. They were a minority within the early community of Islam. And even at the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they continue to be a minority. And until today, with the exception of, for example, modern day Iran and a couple other places, like also modern day Iraq, where Tashayyu' and Shi'ism, Shia Muslims form a majority in the country. With the exception of these few in the modern day, Shi'ism has been a minority. And in the world today, Shi'ism, Shia Muslims are a minority. When we look at our role in the societies that we play, whether it's me looking at the general Muslim society and general Muslim community, or me looking at the society, the context that I'm in, for example here in Washington DC, in the DMV, in the United States, being a minority is not a weakness. Instead, being a minority is an awareness that you and I should have to see what is the responsibility that we now have. And is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expecting from us that as a minority group, what is He expecting from us? What's the mandate for us? Is the mandate for us to be the greatest in number? Is the mandate for us to be in quantity? Or is the mandate for us to be in quality? Everything that you have from Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, and listen carefully to this. When you look at what Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam was emphasizing with his companions, especially at a time where he had the opportunity to freely teach. the decline of the Umayyads and the rise of the Abbasids, there was a vacuum. And Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam filled that vacuum. Imam al-Sadiq himself had thousands of students. Not all of them, by the way, being Shia. Not all of them being his followers. In fact, of the Sunni madhab, of our Sunni brothers and sisters, what are the four legal schools of thought? You have Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, and Hanbali. From the Sunni schools of thought in their founders, the founders of the Sunni schools of thought were either students of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam or students of the students of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. With the Imam, what did the Imam mandate for his followers, and what did we continue to inherit from the Imams and our scholars with regards to what's our mandate as Shia? Should we, as Shia Muslims, go out into the world, go out into our societies, impress with people? Let me tell you about Shi'ism. Let me tell you about Islam. Let me make you a Shi'i. Let me convert you. Let me bring you into the light. Do we have this? Do we have this? Something that perhaps maybe our Christian brothers and sisters may have in the spirit of missions, as missionaries. Do we have this? Or our Sunni brothers and sisters have in the spirit of da'wah. Do we have this? Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam tells us clearly what we have. He says, كُونُوا دُعَاةً لَنَا بِغَيْرِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. Be a call unto us. Call unto us. But not with your tongues. Not with your speech. Now, what does this mean? For one, our scholars tell us proselytizing, meaning trying to convert other people, is not from the tradition of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. I'll give you a short story. With, I believe, this was either Zurara or Abu Basir. I think it was Abu Basir. But one of the two companions of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam were asking him about communicating with people that are interested in the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So Abu Basir asks the Imam, if people ask me about you, can I answer? He says, yes, answer them. He said, if they ask me more, can I answer more? He said, yes, answer more. He said, what if they stop asking me? Can I go after them? He says, no. He said, but what if I have more to offer? What if I want to give them more, share more? He says, وَمَا لَكَ بِالنَّاسِ. What do you want with people? Leave people alone. Look at this beautiful scenario with Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Meaning what? Do we believe in education? Absolutely. And here as a note, my dear brothers and sisters, if there's anything you take away from all of the lectures, from the 13 nights that I'm with you in total here in the holy month of Ramadan, education is everything. If you ever are in doubt of what you should be doing with your life, it's educate yourself. Whether it be in university, or be on your own, or be in the hawza, whatever it may be, don't stop educating yourself and educating the people around you. Pick up a book, make that your best friend. If you're wondering what you should be doing with your time, the only thing that you'll do and you won't regret it is reading, is educating yourself. So, whenever you're in doubt, pick up a book and read. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he tells him, وَمَا لَكَ بِالنَّاسِ. What do you want with people? Leave people alone. So our scholars tell us that this was an emphasis from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam and our imams generally to not proselytize. This idea of da'wah is only through what? Our conduct, our actions. We don't have a mandate that we want to go and spread tashayyu' in that way, or even spread Islam in that way by calling people, whether it be, let me convince you that Islam is right, or as some other groups, they may go out and they feed people and quench people's thirst, but they stipulate it with, are you a Muslim now? Are you Shia now? No, we don't have that. Never has the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam stipulated feeding or quenching someone's thirst or helping another human being on the basis of what the religious identity was. Never. And if it did exist or does exist, that's against the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt and against Islam. Instead, You find from the examples of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam that even on the day of Ashura, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam would give water to the other side when he would be one who was cut off from water. Subhanallah. Now, just a small note on this. Some of us may ask ourselves, why is it that Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu wa alayhi, the prophets of God, why is it that even with the people that mistreated them, oppressed them, did injustice towards them, they were still so kind and compassionate? Why? You know why? It's very simple. They had nothing else to give the world. They had nothing else to give the world. What does that mean? Other than kindness, mercy, love, and compassion. So even during the oppression and injustice, even during it all, when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was scorned, was humiliated, was trashed by the people of Mecca, he always turned with a smile. He always turned with Alhamdulillah. He always pressed on. And people would wonder, how is it that Muhammad would continue to do this? How is it that he would just continue smiling? وَمَا بَعَثْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We did not send him, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to... Do you know what that means? A mercy to mankind? A mercy. A mercy, a love, compassion. Prophet Isa alayhi salam was the same way. People asked Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, in our tradition, in our Islamic tradition, people asked Isa alayhi salam, our prophet, why is it with the people that treat you unjustly that you continue to be kind? You continue to show compassion. You continue to show care. Why? He said, I have nothing else to give. And you see this from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. كُونُوا دُعَاةً لَنَا بِغَيْرِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. My dear brothers and sisters, where does it start? This دُعَاةً لَنَا بِغَيْرِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. Call unto us without your tongue. Where does it start? It starts here. It starts with our families. It starts with the young ones. How kind and compassionate are we to one another? Do we care for one another? Are we there for one another? You and I, each of us has their own struggles, their own trials. You may be going through something, I have no idea what you're going through. And at the same time, I may be going through something, you have no idea what I'm going through. But are we kind and compassionate enough to give each other the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what? Let me give them some space. Or, on the flip side, let me check on them. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Is everything okay with you? Hey, if you ever need anything, I'm here. People need that. And we as families, and we as a community, we need to be that for one another. If you and I, let's say we are the smallest minority group in the whole world. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam on the day of Ashura, that was a minority like no other. Less than 100 people faced off with thousands. And by the way, this was sunnah, this was the tradition of the Prophet. In the battle of Badr, how many? 300? 313 against 1,000? They're outnumbered. You and I, my dear brothers and sisters, numbers matter where? Where do they matter? There is nothing in our tradition that points to those with greater numbers are necessarily on the path of truth, or righteous, or virtuous, or with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Instead, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, listen, I have diversity, I've created you from this, I've made you into this, and the best amongst you are the most pious. Do you think that piety comes easy? Piety, my dear brothers and sisters, is making the right decision in the hard times. So when things are easy, things are accessible, things are right in front of me, but I choose to do the right thing. When you and I challenge ourselves and look at, man, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does He tell us in the Holy Quran? He tells us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change the state of a nation, the state of a people, until they change what's within themselves. Who here wants to change the world? Who here wants to change the world? Sisters, nobody wants to change the world? The world's good as is. Chilling. Who here wants to change the world? MashaAllah. We should all want to change the world. And you can. You can. I'm telling you here, full responsibility on the minbar here that's dedicated to the service of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. You can change the world. But it starts here. It starts here. You can change the world. You can do whatever you want. But it starts within. If you think you're gonna go out and tell people how to be without doing it yourself, good luck. Good luck. One of the things that I heard and I learned from my teacher, from my mentor, which came as a guidance for me in everything I did, in my education, in my profession, in my betterment as a human being, in my service to the community. He told me, he said, Jalal, if you want to serve, never speak about something that you haven't actually learned yourself. Never encourage people to do something that you aren't mastering or at least striving to do yourself. Don't tell people how to change their lives when you're struggling with your own. What does that mean? We all have our struggles. I have my struggles. I'm very far from perfect. I say that with the utmost confidence, not just trying to be humble before you. This is between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anybody that comes up here has their own struggles. We all have our own struggles. But the beauty of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is where? And the service of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is where? That everyone still has hope. So long as you are connecting yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you still have hope. We all have hope. Never lose hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. O my servants who have transgressed against your own souls, do not despair of the mercy of God. For Allah, God, forgives all sins. All sins. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam was sitting with yet another companion. One of the beautiful things, my dear brothers and sisters, about us in our relationship to Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam is the plethora of experiences by his companions and his followers and asking him these direct questions and having these conversations with him. I want to give you another situation. There was a companion that was sitting with Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, and they say Imam al-Sadiq, while he was sitting, he was leaning back onto the wall. And the companions were asking the Imam a question, and the Imam was answering. And then in the conversation, the Imam asked them, the conversation was surrounding about them as Shia. Mind you, his father, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, had taught his companions a very important principle on having pride in one's identity. He said, be proud of your name. He said, be proud of your name. They said, what is our name? What are you referring to? He said, Ash-Shia. Be proud of your name. And he began to explain how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed all of the prophets with dedicated followers as their Shia, as their followers. Even though, and like the companions complained, they said, but people make fun of us for that name. And he would say that, and yes, people made fun of the Shia of other prophets as well, and the other leaders and vicegerents designated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this particular situation, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he asks his companions that he's sitting with, he asks them, who do you think? Remember earlier I was starting off saying, don't concern yourself too much with the way people look at you and what other people are doing, right? He asked them, who do you think that the majority of the people think are the worst of people? And if you look outside, who do you think those people think are the worst people? His companion said, us. The Imam asked them again, who do you think they think are the worst people? The companion said, us. Us, the Shia. They think we are kuffar. They think we're disbelievers. They think we're the worst people. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Remember I said he was leaning back? The Imam sat up. The hadith says the color in his face changed to red. He said, by Allah, we will walk to Allah into paradise. He said, we, as the Imams, Ahlul Bayt, we will walk to Allah into paradise. And we will be your interceders, your shufa'a on the day of judgment. He said, by God, not 15 of you, not 10 of you, not 3 of you, not a single one of you will enter hellfire. You will all enter paradise. Now if that doesn't want a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, I don't know what does. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam is telling his Shia, people think you're the worst. They have no idea. We're going to walk ourselves into paradise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we're your shufa'a, and none of you will go to hell. Now, بِشَرْطِهَا وَشُرُوطِهَا. This wilaya, this following fellowship of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is not just one that's said. It's easy to say, I love Ahlul Bayt. It's easy to say, Ya Ali. It's easy. But it's a lot harder to live Ya Ali. Live it. Now we encourage our youth. My kids, my son Ali, him and I, we had an activity today. I was saying Haidar, he was saying Ya Ali. I was saying Haidar, he was saying Ya Ali. Right? We need to raise our youth saying this. Why? Because this begins to give them the basis, the foundation of education in the love of Ahlul Bayt. And also, when we're educating them and saying, say Ya Ali, say Ya Zahra, say Ya Hassan, Ya Hussein, Ya Rasulullah, this is connecting you to what? Ya Allah. It's not disconnected. That the relationship, the wilayah of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam takes us to who? Rasulullah. Rasulullah takes us to who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I see all of this, I'm reminded by Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam how important education is, especially as a minority. Because the practical reality is that you and I, we get intimidated. That you and I, sometimes when we do see, oh, I'm the only Shia student, let's say, in my university, or in my college, or in my program. I'm the only Shia in my job, in my law firm, let's say, right? I remember at one point in time, there was almost 300 attorneys in the firm that I was working at, and I was the only Muslim, let alone Shia. That can be intimidating. But what's the mandate for us? Yes, you may feel lonely. You may feel alone. You are a minority. Okay, get over it and see what you need to do next. Your job in this life, my dear brothers and sisters, is not only to fit in. Pay attention to what I'm saying. I'm not telling you not fit in. No, you should fit in. If, let's say, the environment that you're in, as a young man, for example, the environment you're in demands for you to wear a suit and tie, to dress professionally. Let's say, and I speak to young attorneys about this all the time, you have to dress the part. That's the context. There's a professional conduct and way that you're demanded to present yourself in. Go for it. So long as it's not in conflict with any principles or values that you have as a Muslim, as a follower of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, go for it. Context matters. However, if it's something where I know I'm going to be so obsessed with this one thing, I hope you're not just obsessed with a suit and tie, but I'm so obsessed with this one thing, I forget my foundation. I forget my deen. I forget I have to pray. I forget I have to fast. I put other things as a priority of it. Yeah, you've kind of lost your way at that point. But instead, what do we say? It's not only to fit in. What we were building on yesterday with the law of belonging, and what we continue to build tonight with the law of presence, is that our presence is not one of sheer numbers, but instead it's of quality. The Shia have always been that quality in their society. The cream of the crop in their society. The greatest contributors in their society. The ones who save the day in their society. From Imam Ali alayhi salam and his companions, to Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein and the rest of the companions, you look at Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam not for their great numbers. Tell me a time where Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they were celebrated and honored because of their numbers. That's not the case. In fact, the default of Ahlul Bayt as a minority. So you and I, we shouldn't be intimidated by this idea, oh my God, we're a minority, what do we do? No, bil'akis. To the contrary. Here in the United States, embrace your role as a minority. Here in your community, embrace your role as a minority and build from it. So what does that mean? And let me be very blunt with you. To my brothers and sisters, especially the organizers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them extensively. A lot of times when we're judging the impact of a program, the value of a program, is this a successful program or not? Sometimes we are taken by the numbers. MashaAllah, if the place is full, 600 people, 700 people, 1,000 people, oh my God, that was great. I don't look at it that way. I don't see it that way. I see it. If you give me maybe 5 people on this side and about 5 people on this side that are very attentive, that are very concentrated, and that are willing to implement what they're learning and build on it from night to night, that's a successful program. Really, Hajj? You'd come just for 10 people? Absolutely. Give me 10 people that are willing to commit themselves on a nightly basis and ask questions. Oh, Hajj, you mentioned this verse from the Holy Quran. Oh, you mentioned this scholar. Oh, you mentioned this companion. You mentioned this hadith from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Can you tell me more? That's what we need. It's not about quantity, my dear brothers and sisters. Let this place be filled with 1,000 people, but not one person is actually reflecting, then what's the use? Inshallah, yes, blessings, mashallah. There's always going to be blessings. By the way, with Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon us the blessings of Ahlul Bayt. We're going to continue being blessed, inshallah, even if we're just present. But are we going to build? Are we going to grow? Are we going to make the next generation, these youngins, mashallah, are we going to take them to the next level? Are they going to be the ones who are guardians for us so that every Shia Muslim life, every Muslim life, every Muwahhid's life, every human being's life is valued in society not more than anyone else just because of their ethnic background or the color of their skin? But instead, every human life needs to be honored and respected and dignified. As Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam taught us. Who's going to bring that forth into the world? Do we wait for a majority of society to act and be in that way? No. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they did that as a minority. Whether it was Imam Ali alayhi salam at the helm when he was Khalifa for those few years, or it was Imam Ali and the rest of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam in their capacity as private citizens. When we look at our role, when I'm focusing on these subjects every night, my dear brothers and sisters, the law of belonging, you need to belong here. You need to make this home. Don't be detached. You're here physically, but spiritually, mentally, cognitively, you're in somewhere else. Why? Why? Because wherever you are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing you. You're being tested. Be in the place that you want to be. And if this is the place that you've chosen, then make the most of it. Make it home. Belong here. And then as we're saying tonight, as a minority, be present here. Be present. As Shia Muslims, we can change the world. Someone was like, oh, that's a little fantastic. That's kind of up there in the clouds, dreamy. Okay. Yeah, let it be dreamy. Let it be fantastic. You and I only have one life to live. If we cannot inspire in each other and inspire in the generations to come, that they can be the movers and shakers of society. Meaning what? Do we want them to be loud? Do we want them to be moving in the streets? No. I want them to be effective. I want them to be pious. I want them to be so loud that they don't have to say a word. كونوا دعاة لنا بغير ألسنتكم. Be a call unto us without your tongue. When we look at the Shia community and the potential that we have, instead of busying ourselves with mundane things, with silly things, with foolish things, with the disagreements that, come on, let's get over this. Let's see how you and I can join hand in hand, educate our youth more. Show our youth what they're capable of. Show them where they can go. Show them that there's no limit. So long as you put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so long as you have faith in Muhammad wa al Muhammad, you have no limitations. Why should we be limited? Why should we be limited? Why? The only limitations that we have are here. I say this, my dear brothers and sisters, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inspire each and every one of you to see that light within. The blessing that comes through each and every one of us. You are not an accident. You are here not by coincidence. You are a lover of Muhammad wa al Muhammad, and you are in this place for a reason. Don't take it for granted. Reflect on that here tonight and see what you can change. Laylatul Qadr is tomorrow. It's the night of destiny. The night of destiny. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the right of Muhammad wa al Muhammad, tomorrow night, change my destiny, Ya Allah, so I can be of service to you. So I can manifest what Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam asked me to do, to be a call unto him, not with my speech, not with my tongue, not with big talk, but through my action, through my lifestyle. Let me be that inspiration for myself, my family, my community, my society, the world. Think big because you can. Be big because you are. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, I'd like to continue in the commemoration of the commander of the faithful, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. And inshallah also recite another majlis or musibah tomorrow as well. Inshallah, so we can continue the blessings. Remember I said earlier, I said for those who weren't present here tonight, tell your friends and your family that missed it here tonight that they're going to miss out. My intention was not with the lecture. My intention was here with the masa'ib. Because no matter what, we go back to the masa'ib of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and we know we get blessings from that. Through their memory, through remembering their tragedies. Like Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam said, 50 people, 30 people, 20 people, 10 people, a few people, one person, you yourself, just by yourself, cry over Ahlul Bayt. Remember them, have grief in your heart, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enter you into paradise, inshallah. But again, it's not just crying. It's not just having grief. It's you committing yourself to Ahlul Bayt. Many cried over Ahlul Bayt, but little committed themselves to Ahlul Bayt. So let us be with those who committed themselves to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If I tell you this tale of sorrow, will you lend me your hearts to borrow? If I tell you this tale of sorrow, will you lend me your hearts to borrow? Will you shed a tear for Hussein? Will you remember Zainab's pain? And if we stay here tonight until tomorrow, will you bear this tale of sorrow? Listen here to Hussein's story, a story of heartache and glory, a story of heartache and glory. In these nights of Ramadan, in these holy days, Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, the son of Imam Ali, narrates that they brought Imam Ali back to his home. And al-Imam al-Hassan, al-Imam al-Hussein, Muhammad al-Abbas, the sons and the daughters of Imam Ali would surround him. They brought the Imam into the room that he would pray in. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, the half-brother of al-Hassan wal-Hussein, he narrates that the ones that took the tragedy of Imam Ali, the greatest on their hearts, was no other than al-Hassan wal-Hussein. Imagine al-Hassan wal-Hussein holding their father Imam Ali in their arms, trying to console each other. He says at one point, when Imam al-Hussein is at the head of his father Imam Ali, he's shedding his tears and crying over his father. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah narrates and says, Imam Ali, my father, would look at my brother Hussein and he would begin to cry. Why is Amir al-Mu'mineen crying? He looks at al-Hussein and he tells him, my son Hussein, you cry over me and I only have one wound. I was only struck once upon my head. Ya Aba Abdullah, you will be struck so many times upon your blessed body. Don't you remember when Rasulullah would tell us that you will be killed and massacred in the land of Karbala? When the swords and the arrows, when the spears will fall upon your body. Imam Ali narrating to Imam al-Hussein his own tragedy. On this night, Imam Ali alayhi salam, as he's laying there surrounded by his sons and daughters, they say that Imam al-Hassan, before the Imam would pass, he would go out into Kufa and call upon the people, telling them the time has come, the time has come. There was a gesture amongst the people that when someone would be in their final moments, they would come and bring forth some food, some water, some milk to the one who is on their deathbed. So when Imam al-Hassan was announcing to the people, for those who wish to come see Amir al-Mu'mineen, who comes forth, who answers the call of Imam al-Hassan, the poor ones, the orphans, the children of Kufa, all carrying cups of milk and water to come aid Amir al-Mu'mineen. The children coming into the Imam's house, waiting for him, calling for him. Abana, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Father Ali, Father Ali, Father Ali, don't leave us now, Father Ali, stay with us please some more. They say that Imam Ali alayhi salam, he began to sweat from his brow, from his forehead. And Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam was seeing Imam Ali's state changing. She told him, Father Ali, what's happening with you? He told her, my dear daughter, Rasulullah told me that when I begin to sweat from my brow, and when I begin to groan, that the time has come. Imagine my brothers and sisters as the sons of daughters of Ali are around him. Imam Ali alayhi salam is sweating from his brow. The color in his face is changing. He lets go and he begins to call out, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. They say that Imam Ali alayhi salam began speaking to the angels. They say that Imam Ali alayhi salam began telling his sons and daughters, I see my beloved Muhammad now. I see my uncle Hamza. I see my brother Jafar. I see your mother Fatima. They're calling me. They're calling me to return. La ilaha illallah. And then the soul of Imam Ali would finally depart. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. His sons and daughters crying out, Wa Aliyya, Wa Aba, Wa Aliyya, Wa Aliyya. My dear brothers and sisters, O lovers of Ali, O lovers of Ali, after the martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam, will you help call out with Sayyidah Zainab, Wa Aliyya, call out, Wa Aliyya, Wa Aliyya, Wa Aliyya, Wa Aliyya. In Kufa, in these nights, the orphans are left alone, wandering, calling, who will help us? Who will feed us? Who will aid us? Wa Aliyya, Wa Aliyya, Wa Aliyya, Wa Aliyya. Sayyidah Zainab Al-Hassan, Al-Hussein, they turned to each other, embracing, holding, consoling, in the name Waliya, 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 Waliya. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our grief, to accept our tears, to bring us closer to the path of Amir al-Mu'mineen, to allow Ya Ali to not be just on our tongues but in our actions, in our lives, to bless us, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, you are capable of everything. Make us from those who follow Ali ibn Abi Talib to live and die on his path. Ya Allah. Ya Allah, if there's any sick ones, ill ones in our presence or in our hearts, we ask you, Ya Allah, to bring shifa to all of our sick ones, all of our ill ones, Ya Allah. We ask you, Ya Allah, for any of us that has a need amongst us tonight and in tomorrow night, in the night of Qadr, we ask you, Ya Allah, to answer our prayers by the right of Amir al-Mu'mineen. We ask you, Ya Allah, to fulfill the desires that we have in your path, in your way, Ya Allah. To bring us closer, any fractures, any brokenness that we have in our families, Ya Allah, to heal us, Ya Allah. We ask Allah to bring us closer as a community, to unite us, to fulfill our potential. Ya Allah, you have placed us here for a reason, Ya Allah. Bring us closer to that purpose, Ya Allah. We ask you this, Ya Allah, and the hastening of the reappearance of Sahib al-Asri wa zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif. We ask you this, Ya Allah, and the last of our prayers, and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa afdal as-salat wa taslim ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala ali baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli.